All right, guys, welcome to the episode of the VanHack Podcast. I'm your host, Ilya, and today we have a very, very special guest with us, John, who is the co-founder of Omniscient Technologies and also a program facilitator at Launch Academy. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thanks, Ilya. It's our key thing with Omniscient Technologies is we're rebooting. We reacquired our asset that we sold in 2011, mentionmap.com. That's mentionmap with two P's. So if you're a Twitter person and dig really cool visualization, you'll want to check out mentionmap.com for sure. We do have some fairly significant plans of what we're doing with that. Being at Launch Academy, helping run a program called the Lean Entrepreneur Program. So we bring in pretty fresh entrepreneur wannabes, or wantrepreneurs as I call them, and we run them through essentially a 5-week program, 2 nights a week, introducing them to principles of the lean canvas. And our whole goal overall, resonates with what we're all about here at Launch Academy, is really helping people fail fast. There's nothing worse than sitting in mom's basement or sitting in a coffee shop trying to build something nobody wants. So if you can, run your startup like an experiment, like it should be, run some good quality experiments, test out some hypotheses. It's better to fail in 6 months and have some runway left to take your learnings and reboot yourself than spend 1.5 years of your life and resources and all those things that can go along with a failed startup, and then maybe never be an entrepreneur again. So I've been at Launch Academy full-time since June and helping run this program. We've actually got our 4th cohort that I'll be teaching starting in January.
Very
cool. It's been a great experience. But I have to admit, teaching it's one thing. It's been fun, but doing it, I think once it's in your blood, doing it's way more fun than teaching it. And then the other role I play, I've just taken on the role as the West Coast editor for BetaKit. So I will continue to be writing stories about technology and entrepreneurship. And
very cool.
So can I say teach it?
Yeah. Sounds like you've been busy.
Always. Lots to do.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about Launch Academy. I just want to start with that because it is such a hub, as you mentioned before. Maybe you can tell, for someone who's never heard of Launch Academy, kind of what Launch Academy is, in a nutshell.
Officially, Launch Academy has been around for just over 2.5 years. It is an incubator. We are a space where we like to bring in fairly new entrepreneurs and give them an environment where they can be around other entrepreneurs, where we can introduce them to different programs that we put on, lunch and learns, have them avail themselves to office hours with different mentors. Again, it's sort of this whole process of creating an environment where entrepreneurs can connect with other entrepreneurs and share resources, share brains, share ideas. And sometimes, we've seen it. Our executive director and founder Ray Wally talks fondly about the Phoenix effect, and we know that 90+% of startups end up crashing and burning. But if you crash and burn and you're in a place like this, the odds are pretty good you might end up on another team. And we've seen that. But our whole thing is trying to, as an incubator, get people accelerator ready or get them fundable. So we really try to keep people accountable, focus on metrics, focus on trying to get some traction. So we don't take equity. Teams apply to join Launch Academy, and then they pay a monthly membership fee for being in the space, depending on how big the team is.
Right.
But we also have, as tenants here, we have Lighthouse Labs, which is a fast-growing, amazing code boot camp. In fact, they've got the HTML 500 coming up at the end of this month in Vancouver, as well as they're doing the event in Calgary, London, Ontario, and Toronto as well. So I'm a big fan of what Lighthouse Labs is doing and the talent they're putting out and helping.
Quickly, what is the HTML 500?
HTML 500 is a great event where 500 people get together for a day and learn the basics of HTML and CSS and ultimately build their own little landing page. And it's for people that really have never coded before. And in terms of really what it's all about, it's more than just learning to code. It's really about helping promote the notion of digital literacy. Face it, technology is ubiquitous and pervasive throughout our lives, but so many people actually don't know anything about the language behind building all these technologies. So Lighthouse is big in promoting the whole idea of digital literacy, not just trying to use the HTML 500 as a recruiting tool for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, so we've also got, we have other ventures here. We're supported by, there's a presence for the BDC. Of course, that's the Business Development Bank Canada. We have Microsoft BizSpark and the Microsoft Ventures folks with a presence here. So we, as well as Highline, which is basically was the merger of GrowLab and Extreme Startups. So they'll have a new cohort coming in here, I believe, next month. So essentially, we are really the hub, 12,000 square feet of what's going on for the startup community here in Vancouver in a big way. So it's not a bad place to come and get a start, because you never know who's going to walk through the halls, and you never know what we're going to do to actually maybe help contribute a little bit to success. Just as a point of metrics for us in the last 2.5 years, we've, I think, had now over 25 startups come out of Launch Academy and go on to accelerators like GrowLab, like 500 Startups, like Amplify in Los Angeles. Collectively, they have raised now, I think, north of $30 million in funding.
It's amazing.
And created over 400 new jobs. So there's some good things going on here, Ilya.
Good things indeed. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of energy. I've visited Launch Academy before, as I mentioned also, and for everyone who's listening to this, get off the plane in Vancouver, first place you want to stop is definitely Launch Academy. It's got an amazing energy, and it's just full of great people. Yeah,
check us out, launchacademy.ca.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put that in the show notes for sure. And maybe just transitioning to kind of a bigger scope of Vancouver in general, I just wanted to ask you, in the last, maybe 3 to 5 years, what have you seen as kind of been the biggest changes and most exciting things that have been happening in the Vancouver startup scene? Because I've been hearing that it's been evolving and changing quite a bit.
Well, I think the thing is that, funding climate has changed a little bit, not necessarily the funding climate in Vancouver per se, but when you're seeing the likes of Hootsuite raising some considerable money last year, you're seeing the likes of Slack that's just hit it out of the park this year, having just raised $120 million and kind of taking enterprise communications by storm. But you've got, established entrepreneurs running these companies. You've got Vision Critical with Andrew Reed. They just raised another $16 million. You've got Jeff Booth leading the team at Build Direct, who are just building a phenomenal logistics platform for essentially people in the home building supply marketplace to move their products around. So we've got examples like that. Bench is another company that's doing some really cool things in essentially the bookkeeping space. We've got Recon Instruments in the wearable space, I think, really leading the show there. I didn't have a chance to attend, but the last Grow conference back in August was up in Whistler, and by all accounts was a huge success and really focused a lot on wearable devices. So, I think what we're seeing is sort of this bringing together of a community. I mean, Vancouver is Vancouver. I mean, quite frankly, we are a small town. If you are around here long enough, almost everybody knows everybody. But, it's encouraging just to see this bringing together, I think, of, like what we represent here, what we're trying to do at Launch Academy. And this notion is bringing together, we call it kind of the Triple H approach of having the hacker, the hustler, and the hipster, AKA designer. I think you're seeing different communities coming together instead of having this, real siloed approach to, that you have developers here, you have designers here, and you have the poor business guy on the outside where everybody's running from him. Oh no! So I think you're seeing a bit more of a coalescing of people coming together, as well as if there's been some positive developments. BCTIA and Wavefront both secured some fairly large funding from this CAPE program through the federal government.
Yeah, and what was that program?
Essentially, I believe Wavefront got just over 9 million BCTIA, which is the industry association, 10.5 million. And so that's really all money that's going to go forward to help support more entrepreneurship, training, programs, and just adding more infrastructure, which isn't a bad thing. Mm-hmm. When you're seeing an influx of money like that coming in, that's positive. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's a magic pill for any of this. Entrepreneurship is hard. If it was easy, everybody could do it, everybody would succeed. But what I like is, just like I say, is I think a community coming together and having fewer people just sitting on their own trying to build products that nobody wants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely a good summary of it. I think the community has been fantastic. And speaking of that kind of community aspect, one of the things we talk a lot about is the meetups in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Are there any specific meetups that you like or could kind of highlight to people who just starting to get into the Vancouver startup scene?
I actually joke, if you wanted to, you could be out on the town to a couple events a night, 7 nights a week. So I really think it depends on what you're into. I mean, there's some great meetups on the developer side of things. I mean, I know the Ruby, the Polyglot. Those are a couple of meetups that are really well attended. Of course, the best thing to do is the number one thing is just check out Vancouver Pixel Crafters. I think there's like pushing probably 3,000 people that are members of the Vancouver Pixel Crafters meetup. Mm-hmm. I also suggest is, if you want to keep tabs on the Vancouver sort of scene, what's going on event-wise, is sign up for the Vancouver Startup Digest email every Monday. That's a good resource. There's also the TNet newsletter, which comes out every Monday, which really highlights what's going on in Vancouver and the BC technology scene. There's some great design-related meetup groups. The Van UE. There's a meetup group that's just for information architecture, content strategy. Mm-hmm. I think pretty much pick the flavor of the type of people you want to hang out with. And you will find it happening here. I mean, there's Startup Drinks, which is a regular event. Haven't been to one of those for a while, but like I say, just figure out where you want to go, the people you want to meet, and just get off your ass and go out and meet people. It's that simple.
Yeah, take some action. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Another thing, I guess, is maybe getting a little bit more specific, but is if you're, when I read your article about the kind of challenges and trends of 2015 for the Vancouver startup scene, and one of the things you talked about is the talent crunch. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who want to get into Vancouver, come here, and there seems to be a lot of openings. Where would you see kind of the biggest skills needed? Specifically, is it a specific type of developer or data science or designer, or is it kind of more general? What would you say about that?
I think it really comes back to it, especially if you kind of read through the flavor of the article. It's not so much the skills that you have, it's the kind of person you are. Mm-hmm. A big part about being involved in a growing startup is you better have, as we have for our mantra here at Launch Academy, you better have a get shit done attitude. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, this isn't the world to come hang out in. It's really about attitude. It's really about what kind of person you are. It's really understanding and defining, the kind of sort of culture and how founding teams are defining that culture. I mean, and what do you want to be in? I mean, we've got a vibrant gaming space. We've got a vibrant mobile space. Like I say, I think we're starting to see some types of hardware type businesses coming. So I think have a good sense of what it is you're interested in. But above all, is like I say, look, if you're a good Ruby developer, the odds are pretty good people are going to take notice of that. I keep hearing everybody's looking for more Ruby development talent. Certainly we've got a good Vancouver's, I think, a great spot for anything that you're looking at. Obviously, with Hootsuite as an anchor and the likes of Vision Critical. So if you're interested in the social space, I think there's some great people with domain expertise in the social space. Look at if you're looking, if you're talented enough to get hired at the likes of a Google or a Facebook and go to the Valley and get obscenely crazy paycheck and perks, then go. You're not going to find that here in Vancouver. But what you're going to find in Vancouver is, I think all of us can say, we can sell a pretty amazing city. If you're talented, you are going to get paid well. And I think just identifying the type of people you want to work with, the type of products you want to help build, and certainly having a little bit more experience, that's going to set you apart. I mean, I think there's some good junior talent coming out of the likes of Emily Carr, Vancouver Film School, coming out of Lighthouse Labs and Code Core. But I know a lot of the companies, they're looking for people that, certainly have a little bit more experience under their belt, be it development, be it business development, be it marketing, be it design. So like I say, if you're somebody that's got some experience and got a track record, and a giddy up and go attitude, and you happen to like the mountains, skiing, beautiful scenery, and all that stuff that goes with being in Vancouver, then come on.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of people who fit into that category.
Yeah, and coffee.
Yeah, lots of good coffee spots around here. All right. Well, I just have one more question.
Sure.
Maybe if you have some top tips as to what you can do to really show your skills. You talk about someone who's coming into the city, maybe doesn't really know that many people. How do you kind of make an impression quickly and in a way that is positive and hopefully leads to either a job or starting a company or some kind of positive action?
Don't be shy. Be really curious. And really work on having a good story. And I'm a big believer in it's not what you do, it's like, what's your story? What can you tell me to make me care about you, the person? I mean, there's lots of people that can do things, so if I'm sorting through a resume and I've got 5 people that can all do the same thing, well, what's going to make you stand apart? And so I'm a big believer is like, really know what your story is. Because I don't ask, at a networking event, if you ever meet me, don't ask me what I do first, because I won't give you that answer. And then, but what I will come back to you with, I will always not ask you this question. I will never ask you, what do you do? I'm going to ask you, what's your story? And I think that you're going to have much more success in building relationships when you can get people to care.
Yeah.
And I come at this whole thing when I'm writing stories, when people are pitching, however I look at it, I always have about 4 whys I ask people, and it's why this, why you, why now, and why should I give a shit?
That's good.
So definitely work on your personal storytelling. Have a good story. Don't be shy. Get out and hustle. And get an event. Before you come, do some homework. Before you come, reach out and see who you can meet with. And above all, when you do meet with people, don't be afraid to ask for something. Like, don't just have a conversation. What is it that you're looking for? What is it you're passionate about? And if you ask for something and you're an interesting person, there's a lot of really giving people here in Vancouver that will make introductions. So at the very least, you should always end a positive conversation with who might you be able to introduce me to. Ask for a referral.
Definitely. I think that's
how's that?
That's perfect. I think that really hits the nail on the head in the storytelling aspect of it. That's something we talked about in the course actually, and I'm really glad you mentioned it as well.
Perfect.
All right. Well, just I guess that's all the time we have. And last, if you have, do you mind sharing your Twitter handle or your personal website, or how can someone get in touch with you if they have any questions or want to share their story with you?
I'm a big Twitter fan, so come find me on Twitter, and you'll find me at Grayspective. So that's Gray, and then Spective, because it's not a perspective; it's the Grayspective of life. And when you find me there, then you can find the rest of me. So yeah,
sounds good.
I hope that works.
Yeah, definitely. Brazil is the 2nd largest country on Twitter, so I'm sure everyone out there has a Twitter account.
Oh, I know from looking at some of the love that I get from our mention map feed that there's no shortage of. I have to go to Google Translate every now and then and translate some different languages. So I love the love that I'm getting from for mention map from places outside of North America. It's great.
Sounds good. Well, hopefully we get some more after this episode.
Thanks so much,
All right.
Ilya. Appreciate
Thanks.
the opportunity.
No, thank you, John. All right, guys. Talk to you in the next episode. Cheers.